So once again, I welcome you all to this very special 160th session of Leadership Talks. As you know that these sessions are being organized by India International Education Council and School Lalaji Solutions. India International Education Council is a not-for-profit organization which is working in the field of education. It has collaborators from 12 countries. It aims to create a better world for education, building quality centers for elementary education, approachable for all kids, another goal of IIEC. It is also trying to find best educational practices across the globe and find ways to implement those in Indian institutions. It is creating more awareness on hygiene and learning disabilities. It publishes a magazine called World Education Review and many other educational reports. Aims to build 100 chapters in different cities by 2022. It will soon open its membership to businesses and individuals. It also imparts training for learners, teachers, students, and parents. As you all know that so far we have conducted 159 sessions. This is our 160th session. We have received 19,935 registrations, 18,619 questions on national education policy. We have received participation from 8 countries: India, USA, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Nepal, Kuwait, Russia, and Seychelles. From India, we have received participation from 23 states and 130 cities. We aim to organize minimum of 200 sessions, and with this we would be reaching out to 100,000 educators, 20,000 institutions, and thousands of eminent speakers like today's speakers will be joining us to share their perspective and thoughts on national education policy. Now, I request you all, please join me in welcoming our key speakers for this very special session. Our first key speaker, a very senior education leader, Dr. Sandeep Gangre. Sandeep ji is co-vice chancellor with the Madhyanchal Professional University, Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. He's a well-known and renowned academician with experience of 22 years in teaching, industry, and research. He did his master's and doctorate from University, Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. He served Regional Institute of Education, Bhopal, Surbhi and Satyam Group of Institutions, Bhopal, Malwa Institute of Technology, Gwalior, and Oriental University, Indore. He has published more than 35 research papers and many more R&D process. He is a result-oriented professional with extensive experience in administration, teaching, research, educational assessment, classroom presentations, and coordination student relations. He's a skilled authority in setting up curriculums along with the experience of assessing students and holding examinations. He's an expert academician with distinction of being associated with numerous presentations, workshops, talk initiatives. He's an effective communicator with demonstrated ability at managing students for running teaching activities as well as developing procedures, service standards for academic excellence. We welcome you, Sandeep sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Our next speaker, another very senior education leader, Dr. Sangeeta Shivaji. Sangeeta ma'am is principal with the SVPB Vidyalaya and Sri T.B. Bhatia Science College, Mumbai, Maharashtra. Apart from the postgraduate in English literature and PhD, she holds a postgraduate diploma in management of education, journalism, and mass communications, and Indian classical vocal music. She's also a certified yoga teacher. During her last 31 years, she has worked towards integrating technology with traditional teaching methods and making teaching learning fun for teachers and students. She has developed a research-based program to enhance the academic level of students who are very weak in studies and need discipline through introduction of dance, dramatics, music, sports in her school. She has been instrumental in introducing several science-based activities in college like Vigyasa Science Festival, NASA annual camps to Kennedy Space Center, student exchange from US, Italy, and Moscow. She has published one research-based book for teachers. Teachers create magic through ICT. One poetry collection book in Hindi, Kuch Pal Bhige. One poetry collection book for children in English, Raindrop. And a series of multilingual creativity activity workbooks, a rhyme a day. So, Sangeeta ma'am, I must appreciate that you have covered all the aspect of like teachers, kids, everyone. So, big congratulations and thanks for joining. In 2017, Dr. Sangeeta was awarded Rajya Adarsh Shikshak Puraskar by Maharashtra government District Excellence in Vocational Education Award by Rotary International, and several other awards by NGOs and organizations in recognition of her service to education. Thank you, Sangeeta ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, ma'am. And our last key speaker for this very special session, a very senior education leader, Dharmendra Kumar Srivastava sir. Dharmendra sir is principal with RS Excel English Academy, Fatehpur, Uttar Pradesh. He is a district coordinator with the KAMP by CSIR. He has decades of experience in the field of education. He has been awarded and recognized many times for his contribution to the field of education. We welcome you, Dharmendra sir. Thank you for your participation. We are honored.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, sir. So with this, we come to the next part of the session, which is the opening remark part. I would now invite our speakers one by one, first for the opening remark and then for the main talk. So I would first request Sandeep sir, if you can have your quick 1 minute opening remark.
Okay. A very good evening to all of you. Is I am audible, sir?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah. So, a very good evening to all of you. So, I am very thankful to India International Education Council, Schoolology Solutions and World Education Review for moving such a very good series of lectures related to the educational policy. Okay, furthermore, when I discuss the things, I will let you know that what are the ifs and what are the buts there in the solid policy. We can discuss furthermore there in the detail. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Sandeep sir. I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Now I would request Dr. Sangeeta Srivastava ji. Sangeeta ma'am, over to you. If you can have your 1 minute opening remark.
Thank you very much for having me today. From the National Education Policy 2020, I have picked to talk about part 1, that is section curriculum and pedagogy in schools, which says that learning should be holistic, integrated, enjoyable and engaging, restructuring school curriculum and pedagogy in a new 5+3+3+4 design. That is 3 to 8 years, 8 to 11 years, 11 to 14 years and 14 to 18 years. It's about holistic development of learners, which is like, our education system will move from real understanding to real understanding and learning how to learn by the students, which is lacking today. Rote learning is going to go. It is going to focus on building character, creating a well-rounded individuals equipped with the key 21st century skills. So I am going to talk about that.
Thank you, Sangeeta ji. I'll come back to you for a detailed perspective. Now I would request Dharmendra sir, sir, if you can have your opening remark.
Thank you, sir. As mentioned by the opening speakers. Yes, sir. I hope so. My voice is audible to you, sir? Okay. So definitely, as ma'am and sir have mentioned, this is really NEP is going to get the students as well as the complete education fraternity out of the rote learning, and definitely out of the pros and cons. Now it's time to think about the implementation effective manner and how it can be brought up to the grassroots level. So I'll be putting up some of the views on that, how this can be effectively implemented by all the stakeholders in the different ways. That is what we are going to focus on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dharmendra sir, for that. I would come back to you for your main talk. Big thanks for your participation. So with this, we come to the next part of this session, which is the main talk part. I would now invite our key speakers one by one for their detailed perspective. But before I invite our first key speaker, I must share the learnings which we have had during our last 159 sessions. During our last 159 sessions, almost every participant shared that this is a wonderful document. This document has a potential to, to place India at the coveted position of Vishwa Gyan Guru. But at the same time, same number of participants shared that this is very, very ambitious and it's going to be very, very difficult to execute. Many educators who participated shared that, finance is going to be a concern area. Many believe teachers training is going to be a big concern area. NCC got failed due to poor training of teachers. Many believe, yes, teachers training is a concern area, but the bigger concern area would be lack of intent and motivation among teachers to get trained. A lot of people who participated shared that, good schools in urban areas already implementing many of these ideas which are mentioned in NEP. So the biggest challenge would be for the rural school, budget school, and the government school. Many experts, many authorities who participated also shared their assessment that this pandemic has exposed the poor digital infrastructure in our country, and that is going to be another big challenge. So I would request all our key speakers today, your perspective, if you can also share some ideas, some best practices which you have been implementing in your institutions, so that we all can learn from each other and this session become more useful and engaging. I would also request all of these speakers, please keep that time limit of 10 minutes per speaker so that we have sufficient time in the end for the presentation. So with this, I would now invite our first key speaker, Professor Dr. Sandeep Gangade. Sandeep sir, over to you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. So as already sir has told us that today we are going to discuss related to the national education policy. I hope that all the participants and the guests who are being attached with us today are being aware of what do you understand by national education policy. Okay. The major thing which I find or which I feel at present is to understanding that what is actually it is. Because so many of us have just gone through and have heard the term related to national education policy, but related to the participants also, some of them have not gone through the book which has been already published by Government of India related to all the criteria. Okay, so basically defining all of them, generally the policy, it has been implemented on 29th of July 2020, and it is being one of the very, very important policy, or you can say related to education system in India, because since from long time we are continuously dealing with the old pattern of education in India, due to which even we the teachers or the students, we are not able to compete with the environment, compete with the other criteria or with the areas, because with the old education policy we are again bounded only with the specific subjects what we are dealing with. We are not open, we are in a closed container. Okay, so the main surveillance of this new education policy is it is giving you a very, very in-depth knowledge of each and every sphere of life, each and every surface areas in which you can excel yourself. Okay, so basically there has been, the policy has been divided into the 4 parts. First is part 1 is school education. Basically still we are running on the very old part of working of school education. We are going from pre-nurseries, we are going to nursery. But again, I'll ask each and every one of you, are you satisfied with the things, how they are working in? We have gone through the same procedure, and again our children are again going through the same procedures. But now the world has changed. So we'll have to deal that what is happening up nowadays, dealing with this good initiative related to the how the things are going to happen related to school education. Because again, as I felt that Sangeeta madam is here, we have gone through the subjects that in 11th class we'll have to deal only with commerce, or we'll have to deal with arts, we'll have to deal with maths or specific subjects. Right after 2 or 3 years, when we think that we are being capable of dealing with something else also, we are being good in arts, but we have taken the maths. So by default, we'll have to go through that particular thing only. We'll have to manage our career in that fields only, without exploring some other fields also. Even if I want to pursue PhD in arts, when I have done my things from science, I cannot do it. Why? Because you are not having any kind of basic course from the arts we have studied. But this criterion has been completely blended up in the new educational policy. This is very, very good initiative. Coming to the part 3, there are some more criterions which we will have to work on the things, like for the professional education. That is the demand of today. We will have to become the professionals. What we are now doing is we are just creating the persons, those who are having the degrees. The persons are not having the technical aspects. They are not having the even technical things so that they can excel in their field. That is the related being very big problem of creating unemployability in India, because the skilled persons are not there in India. So with the initiative of our Prime Minister and the government of India, the government has already initiated various skill development programs. But again, as lot of academicians are there, what is the condition of the things? I hope that all of us are being aware that still there has been a very lack of communication gap between us and our brand ambassadors, that is our students. Okay. In the part 4, it has been given it making it happen. This is one of the most difficult part of that particular policy, because in our India there has been continuously rumors related to the things which a person doesn't know. To understand what is exactly a national education policy is, you will have to go through the document. You will have to go through each and every point related to students, related to teachers, related to all parents also. So if parents and students are there, then I can ask them, just go through the document thoroughly so that you can easily understand what does it means. Okay, it doesn't mean only to students, it doesn't mean to only to teachers, it doesn't mean only to the educators. It means to each and every part of us, each and every being of us. Because nowadays we people are continuously facing a lot of problems. Yes, due to the COVID resurgence, we have seen a drastic change in the online system. Now, all of us know that now we'll have to cope with these particular conditions for more than 2 or 3 years again also. Maybe possible some more time will be taken. But now the important thing is how we have worked through the online system. Because I feel that so many of us haven't think that sometime we will take classes only through the online system. But it has been initiated from so many people that they are taking it online system. But there are ifs and buts also. Some students are taking it very seriously, but major number of peoples, major number of stakeholders, they are taking it as a taken off for the granted. Because you cannot assure what is happening to the other side. In the classroom teaching, the student is just being in front of you. We can deal with it. Okay. So basically, there has been so many important things, so many important points, which it's not even possible for me or even possible for any of us to deal complete education policy in just, as sir has told me that he has given me just 10 minutes. But I'll talk on the most important part, that is its execution. Okay, because what we plan, if we cannot execute it, then the things cannot be done in a proper way. As all of our academicians, learned academicians has planned the policy, but now it's on us, we all of us, that how to execute it. So what I feel that now the main point is we'll have to discuss that how to execute this policy. Okay, and I just want to share this through this platform that it's not being a duty of a single person. We all will have to move together to make it happen. Because it's not possible even for only teachers to execute it, even not only for students. We required involvement of students, teachers, even parents also. Because when I have talked to so many parents related to this policy, they have told me that they are having so many problems or so many, you can say, questions related to that. Some of them are saying that it's not good for our students. Some of them are saying that we are not able to understand somehow the things can be happened, how the things are supposed to be happened. Some of the students are being very confused that how we can do the things. So continuously, I am continuously being in touch with them, solving their queries. And through this platform, I again ask you or I request you, all of you, to circulate the best practices involved in this national education policy. Because once we start practicing it, then onwards the things can become to us. Okay. So the major thing is related to strengthening the Central SYD Board of Education. As there has been so many things given continuously in that policy, that how we can attain the goal which has been set in this policy. Okay. For that, there has been so many things, but the major part is related to implementation. as since from last 1996 that has been proposed, but again it will take nearly 14 years for this policy to come in this format to us. So just think that for more than 14 years they have discussed on this particular concept, and now what they framed out to us, it's one of the fabulous things. One of the fabulous things what we have in the current scenario. Because all the academicians here know that we are producing maximum number of doctors, engineers, and all over the world they look us for their technical experts, for their doctors, for their engineers. But what is the major thing is we are giving them only the one specific knowledge. And the best essence of this national education policy is that it is open. Open in the sense that once a student wants to pursue his career in whatsoever he wants to do, he can do the things, or he can excel best in what he is having interest. Okay, given in my example, even I am having a key interest in going for legal studies also. But right from higher education, when I have been come in the science field, then I am not able to go in that field. So still I just want to pursue my career in legal studies also, so that I can do some good work in that field also. And this is the most important essence of the national education policy, that student can at any time wants to change his mind that what he wants to do, where he wants to pursue his career. He wants to go for multiple things, he can go. And one of the most important outcome of this policy is removal of unemployment. I felt that all of you people are being aware that this is the major problem what we people are facing nowadays related to employment. And what is the basic reason of employment? It is only the lack of skills. So if a person is being skilled in 2 or 3 trades, then obviously he can get employment in even 1 or 2 trades, whatsoever is interested. Similarly, for the academicians or for the industrialists, they are being aware they can have a specific person, those who are having knowledge of 1 or 2 trades. Okay. So it's being very easy even for them also, so that they can have the things and they can accelerate the peoples in their trades, and they can get the knowledge, and with the knowledge they can move ahead. That is the important thing. Now, not in the very brief, I am just giving you a nutshell things related to the things. One of the, again, very important concept is related to the languages. Generally, as you have seen that in our system also, again, we are dealing with generally English or Hindi or one of the regional language. But one of the best essence of this policy is a student can study in his own language. And it has been now given to the concerned schools to draft their curriculum according to their requirements. That is again one of the important things. Because we cannot give the same curriculum to each and every person if he is sitting in Madhya Pradesh, or he is sitting in Maharashtra, or he is sitting in the South region. There has been so many things which we need to inculcate in our syllabus related to the basics, related to our basic religions, related to our basic practices. So now all these things have been inculcated in this policy, due to which it becomes very helpful for each and everyone. Again, what I am again saying, for each and everyone, because it's not a duty of academician only or the teacher only to teach the students. We cannot see or we cannot feel that only the teacher can give the complete knowledge to student. Yeah, they can give it, but again, it's also responsibility of all of us, related to parents also, related to friends also, related to some other peoples also, those who are therein, to guide a student for his better future. So again, if we want the better future of not of only our son or daughter, of our country, then we should follow it extensively. We will have to, the most important thing, which I just want to circulate you people through this platform, is the discussions. It's a very good thing that we are now today discussing on this, so that number of persons, those who have joined us, they can understand or even they can read the terms and conditions of this policy. Even some of the students to whom I have discussed, they have told us, ki, sir, how we can, as we are time or not from the beginning onwards, as you also know that from 2022 the policy is going to start up, okay, and by 2030 it has been assumed that all the parameters or all the things which has been stated therein, it should be implemented continuously, okay. So for the implementation part, just think that for the preparation part they have taken 14 years, and for the implementation part they have given us the 8 years time. So it's our duty to understand the things in the proper way and to implement the things. Again, what I'm saying to you is to implement and to say the things, or to each of us should continuously read it so that we can convey the best part to somebody else also, so that some can understand it and furthermore we can develop the things. So I hope that I have given the just basic concepts of this particular thing. Furthermore, we can discuss it anytime. Anybody of you can call me and we'll discuss this furthermore.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Sandeep sir, for sharing these valuable thoughts. You began by highlighting the importance of that flexibility which is being offered in this NEP in terms of choosing subject. In fact, a lot of people have also shared similar views that that flexibility in entry exit at higher education would create huge impact in coming time, and that was very much needed. You also talked about the importance of technology and why we need to embrace technology.
Yeah.
Then you caution everyone that execution is key. Getting a good document is one thing, implementing the same good document.
Yeah, obviously, it's important.
Absolutely. So then you also talked about and called upon everyone that proactive involvement from all of us, from teachers, parents, school management, college management, students is needed, for the successful implementation of this policy. You also, shared your assessment how this NEP is empowering students, by empowering them to explore their chosen area of interest.
Yes.
It was a lot of people believe it was discouraged so far, but it has been encouraged in this policy. You also talked about the emphasis to study in mother tongue is highly laudable, would create huge impact. And in the end, you again called upon everyone that collaborative efforts are needed for the successful implementation of this policy. So big thanks, Sandeep sir, for sharing these important points. I would come back to you with questions. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Now I would request Sangeeta ma'am, ma'am, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandeep sir, for highlighting important aspects.
I'll
be talking about the school education, which I deal with, and I'm really very happy to see the changes that have been brought in. And see, holistic development of learners was always there. The role of education is that only, that learning should be holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging. So what is new? New is that now in this policy, the pre-primary has been taken into consideration, which was not there up till now, and focus on rote learning has been totally, to do away with that culture of rote learning, for which we are infamous, the Indians. And now the aim of education is we'll be focusing totally on the building character and developing our children with these skills which are required today, the 21st century skills. We have been talking about 21st century skills. 21st century skills, if you see, in 2050 they were different, and today in 2021 they are totally different skills that are required for our children. And in 2025 it will be totally a new set of skills that will be required. In fact, I would say today we are teaching a generation for the career that even we also don't know what they're going to face 10 years hence. So children are with us for up till 17, 18 years. And during those are very critical years of a child, and the flexibility to choose the languages, the mother tongue, the vocational education has been taken in this new policy, which is really, really very, very commendable. And I hope it was there already before, also in RTE, also in CCE, also it came in. But the implementation part is a lot of thing left was left undone, which I hope that it will be done. And as you rightly said, Sandeep sir, that it is up to the educators, up to the teachers, parents, and then finally students to adopt it properly. Looking at the quickly changing employment scenario, look at the global ecosystem which has come now. So this policy has included that part into it, and they say that it is very important for children to learn how to learn. Today, information is everywhere. Now we have to teach our children to analyze that information available, get the correct information that is required for them, not to get lost in this web of information that is available. Think critically, solve problems, how to be creative and multidisciplinary, what you just talked about. They have to look into multidisciplines, not just if I'm studying science, I'm only studying science. No. So, and how to innovate, adapt, absorb the new material in the everyday changing field. Field is changing so rapidly. Today, what we are teaching our generation is actually 10 years hence that will be all obsolete, and the way it is information is multiplying is like multiplying. It's not just multiplying. So they have included this in this. They have talked about that pedagogy must evolve to make education more experiential, holistic, inquiry driven, discovery oriented, learner centered, discussion based, flexible, that you talked about. Like it should have basic arts, craft, humanities, games, sports, fitness, languages, literature, culture, and values. I'm very happy to see that they have specifically spoken about the Indian languages and Indian culture and values and ancient Indian values to be imbibed and integrated into our current teaching. And uh, culture values, and then science and mathematics, and develop the capabilities in the children to do it themselves. I mean, self learning has been given a lot of importance, and we have already seen in this last 1 year our children have really done self learning, and it has just been thrust upon them. It was not planned, but they have online classes have been there, but self learning has been a major aspect in the last 1 year. And section 4 talks about like it emphasizes that education system should move towards real understanding. And most important, if you talk about I was just talking about the 21st century skills. Now in 2015, when I was doing my I was writing a book on this, and then when I was working on the 21st century skills, the skills that came out in front was children should be able to solve complex problems, not the simple problems, complex problems, coordinating with others, managing people, critically thinking for everything, should have negotiation skills. They should be focused on quality control, service orientations, judgment and decision making, active listening, and creativity, and so on. But if I with the way it has been changed, and it has been mentioned in the school education section, that is the section 4, that because of this scientific and technological advances, the rise in machine learning, artificial intelligence, data analysis, and amount of data available to work upon, many of these unskilled jobs will be taken over by the machines. Machines are going to do that. So it means that these jobs will not be there no more. We need the skilled workforce, which should know very good mathematics, computer science, data science, multidisciplinary abilities across sciences, social sciences, and humanities. It will be in demand. And today, if we see the way the climate is changing, the pollution has increased, or our natural resources have depleted, how we meet this need of the world's energy, water, food, sanitation, it will change, because up till now the way we were tackling it is going to be absolutely different. Every day we hear about some new innovation, how electricity is being replaced also, how natural sources are being used for all our machines and other things. It is going very fast. So our children need to be uh, made skilled in those things. And subjects like biology, chemistry, physics, agriculture, climate science, social science, these subjects are uh, going to be very, very important today, because if you see the last year, the management of emergence of epidemics and pandemics, and I'm surprised that when NEP 2020 came, the pandemic had not taken this shape, but it has mentioned it there that growing recent emergence of epidemics and pandemics will call for collaborative research in infectious disease management and development of vaccines. So our children need to be, there has to be an integrated approach between humanities, art, science, and since our economy is growing so fast, it is faster than any other world, and we are the going to be very soon the largest population in the world, and the youngest country in the world. So it is a big duty on our shoulders, on the educators, on the teachers, to really, if whatever has been mentioned in the NEP should be adopted the way it has been intended to, and the skills that now will be required are different. Like, you will need, children should be able to think analytically for innovations. They should be active learners, and their strategy of learning has to change. Complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, originality has to be always there. Leadership and social influence will be also become very important now. Use of technology, monitoring and control, resilience, stress tolerance, flexibility, these are the new 21st century skills for which our children need to be readied. Reasoning, problem solving, and um, ideation. So, looking at the changed scenario, we can see that uh, whilst the next part, that is 4.23, mentions about um, children will be able to choose their individual curriculum. They will be able to choose certain subjects, skills, and so that they can become good, successful, innovative, adaptable, and productive human beings in this changing world. In addition to that, proficiency in languages, develop scientific temperament, evidence-based thinking, creativity, innovativeness, aesthetics and art, oral and written communication, health and nutrition, physical education, fitness, wellness and sports, collaboration and teamwork, problem solving and logical reasoning, knowledge and practice of human and constitutional values, gender sensitivity, fundamental duties, citizenship skills and values, knowledge of India, environmental awareness including water and resources conservation, sanitation and hygiene. See how important it has become already, suddenly in 1 year. And current affairs, knowledge of critical issues facing the whole world, not only just your own local areas. So 4.24 talks about new subjects like artificial intelligence, design thinking, holistic health, organic living, environmental education, and global citizenship education. See, they have really thought a lot of effort has gone into designing this NEP, I must say. And 4.25 talks only about mathematics, mathematical thinking for our culture, for India, and for the future of India, and for the upcoming fields and professions. We need that will require artificial intelligence and machine learning and data sciences. Mathematician and computational thinking becomes very important, and because of this, we have to see that our children are, made interested in mathematics. Today I see children, they are scared of mathematics. Only very few children, they want to study. So it is our duty now to see to it that we make the subject so interesting for them that they really go for it, because that is the future. And apart from that, there are fun courses. During grade 6 to 8, they can have carpentry, electrical work, metal work, gardening, pottery making, and local, according to where the school is, depending on that area, what are the local skills required. They will have bagless days where they will do only activities. Vocational courses are thought about through online mode. Bagless days will involve activities like quizzes, sports, vocational crafts, and they will give exposure to go out of the school, out of the city, to places of historical and monumental importance, cultural and touristic places. They will also be allowed to go to local artists and craftsmen. And the last thing which I feel is very, very important is they have included knowledge of India. You know, ancient India has got, is so rich in its our heritage, and that has been included in this. Mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, yoga, architecture, medicine, agriculture, engineering, and apart from that, tribal, ethno-medical practices, forest management, traditional crop cultivation, that has been our heritage. Natural farming, these are going to be come into the syllabus and curriculum, and children will be taught to do what is right, and how they will do it. There will be a complete framework will be made how we have to teach them this, making them ethical, making when they grow up they will be given in the later years how they have to think about cheating, violence, plagiarism, littering, tolerance, equality, empathy. And they have used these words which are there in our traditional Indian values like seva, ahimsa, swachhata, satya, nishkam karma, shanti, sacrifice, tolerance, diversity, righteous conduct. So I would say that including all these things into education, patriotism, democracy, integrity, responsibility, justice, liberty, fraternity, which is there in our constitution. They have mentioned about the Panchatantra stories, Jataka stories, Hitopadesh, and fables which are there in our Indian tradition will be a part of our curriculum. I'm so happy with this, and I feel really very optimistic about this entire section 4 that talks about the school education. And I hope that if it is implemented nicely and in a very honestly and truly, we are really going to have fun in school. Thank you.
Thank you, Sangeeta ma'am, for sharing these important highlights from National Education Policy. You began by highlighting and sharing your assessment that NEP has potential to take us away from that rote learning-based education system. And many other educators have also shared similar views that NEP has such potential. You also talked about key important areas for 21st age learners. The one, they need to learn how to learn. And this NEP is proposing in that direction. You also talked about today we have abundance of knowledge. In fact, a lot of people have said today's students don't come to teachers for information. They come to teachers for a perspective. Students have a lot of sources and far bigger sources of information today. But you highlighted very correctly, you highlighted that important challenge, area of challenge, that it is very important to understand for those students how to get the correct information. There are so many websites that are coming up which promote themselves as a fact-checking website. So they certainly need to identify like where to find the right information. You also talked about that NEP is strongly advocating for Indian values, and a lot of other people have also shared similar views that NEP has that very emphasized upon these kind of values. You also talked about inculcating 21st century skills among learners is very important, and NEP is also talking about it. You also talked about the importance of health, wellness, and sports, which are mentioned in NEP. In the end, you talked about the importance and the emphasis upon vocational education in NEP, and you shared your assessment that it is going to be very, very impactful. So big thanks, Sangeeta ma'am, for sharing these important points, explaining these areas from NEP for us. So big thanks. I would come back to you with questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And now I would request our last key speaker, Dharmendra sir, sir, if we can have your detailed perspective. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, sir. First of all, I would like to express my thanks to Sangeeta ma'am and sir, those that they have given a very vivid description as well as the views of the NEP. But now what I intend to come out is, as I ma'am mentioned in the beginning, Sangeeta ma'am, that because we are associated with the school education, and somewhere it is the part where we are going to take up the school education only in that. Now, I would not like to repeat those points to avoid the wastage of time which have been already mentioned by ma'am as well as sir in that part, I'd like to put some additions on that. Now, additions on that, which are there, add-ons on that. The very first thing, as we mentioned in the beginning only, the document has been definitely read by all in every way. The document has been effectively read by all and every way. Now, it's all to ponder over the effective manner how to implement it out. Now, let us say, first, there are two, if we talk about the stakeholders, whether it is the student or the school or the, let me give one word, that is the management or the, you can say, government to do it. So if I divide into three states, now here, what we are able to find, why this has become very effective, I would like to add one more point here on first of all, and that is the part of integration. Now, how this integration is there, let me explain you a little bit. It's not that all the 16 boards as well as the CBSE, the state boards and all other in India, from very long time they had the vocational subjects. Now with you all, I'll share you, there was even a year 2012 when in CBSE, in a curriculum of tourism and department all over India, there were only 4 students who appeared for the exam. It is a vocational course which deals with tourism industry and which was a part of the class 12 subject, and there were only 4 students who were appearing all over India. Now see, this is what vocational importance do we have in our education system. Mentioning the same in the linguistic part, for in a particular language, when I was a CS at a center, I had only 1 student appearing in whole district for a particular subject. Now, this is what is addressed by NEP here. Integration of the studies which are being done by the students at the school level and which are being done by the students at the higher level. That integration is what it is required now. And we are going to put up what we are having. We are available on one platform. We need to have how this integration can be put on. When the student is taking up the subject of a diploma in X-ray technology at class 10th level, there has to be a platform which acknowledges this course at higher level. In the what ma'am mentioned correctly, that is the rote learning is going to take an end. Rote learning, let me add in for that. Rote learning is not only ma'am what we have added, only right from the books. But rote learning is something where we are not able to utilize what has been learned. Just as mentioned, now the moderators also mentioned that for information, the students need not to come to the teacher now. There are vast platforms where the students can access the information. Now the role of the teacher is to convert the information into knowledge. Now, I like to, in my viewpoint, I like to express the difference between these two. When an information becomes useful for a person and can be converted into skill, I consider it as a knowledge. There is vast part of information which is available in all domains. You know, in the field of internet, there are number of platforms where the students can access. But reliability of that information is the most important thing, and that reliable information definitely a student can then get from proper education system. Now, as we had in the previous thoughts, ma'am mentioned, and as well as there was a very nicely put up the view that now the students are getting advantage to learn in their own native language, what we call as the mother tongue. Definitely that is going to boost up the thing. The understanding of the learner is going to get enhanced because the learner is able to think, to ponder over the things in the language which he is able to grab up. Now, pros and cons are always there of everything, but the important thing is to how to begin with that. In the government sector, let me inform you whether all of you may have got the information or not. The state governments have already started constituting district-wise agencies or group of people who will be responsible for implementing this NEP. For example, in district of Fatehpur in Uttar Pradesh, to where I belong, they have constituted, the government of state government has constituted a state level, that is district level committee, which will look into these things. Now, this has already started from this year. And as sir mentioned, that it is going to be a matter of at least 8 years timing that we are going to implement, right? But at root level, that is the school education level, we need to implement it gradually, step by step from now itself. I have been, wherever I have been the part of such discussions, I came upon a number of things, and the very prominent doubt which comes from the teaching fraternity is when to start, where to start, how to start. I think these are the three: when, how, and where. These are the three prominent question tags which needs to be answered in this regard. Definitely the drafting, the plan, as ma'am and sir mentioned, it is very, very excellent draft on paper. But on hard ground realities, we are still to fight up with our complete zeal and enthusiasm. And as moderator sir mentioned in the beginning, that we need to share of some of our best practices, what we are able to do, so that we all are able to get an advantage. Now, it has not been a very long time, it is a very recent thing, that the self-learning approach, as I mentioned, complete last session, the students at school level, not only school level, but at higher studies, but since the higher studies, the students are very much familiar with self-learning. But here, the self-learning part in the school studies, you all may agree that for the youngsters, it's still a very challenging one. And then we have been put up in the situation, definitely they all tried to become the part of us extravagant plethora, where they have to anyhow adjust with self-learning. But honestly speaking, with all of you sharing, you all might be able to agree that a very small fraction of students have become successful in that. Whatever, in the absence of, I should say, guided learning that was taken in the classroom, in the absence of that self-learning aspect is developed definitely, but the pace suggested that we are far behind still to go ahead. I think this is where the NEP has to work on more. The stakeholders have to work on more. Whatever the goals have been decided, the goals are definitely realistic, but we have to designate the long-term and short-term goals both, which can take place here. So, sir, I hope we will be able to take the questions on that, and definitely more of the things which we will be able to take up, that will be on hardcore how the implementation has to take place, or else definitely the end part of NEP may should not have the same consequence as it was in the case of CCE, which took place long back in that way. So definitely it's the implementation part which has to take on. Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir, for that.
Thank you, Dharmendra sir, for sharing these practical insights. You emphasize upon the importance of the role of teachers. In your way, in your assessment, the role of teachers now, post this NEP implementation, or in fact in 21st century, is not to share just the information. It is to convert the information to knowledge, to create that kind of environment where students can convert the information to knowledge. You also called upon all these stakeholders that the time has come where we need to set realistic goals, and we need to work upon those goals in collaboration. And then you emphasize upon the importance of execution. As Sandeep sir said in the beginning, Sangeeta also talked about that documents are good. Documents are, we have a lot of documents which are good, but it is the execution, where the soul lies. So big thanks, Dharmendra sir. Now I would come back to you with questions. Thank you. Once again, big thanks to all of you for your detailed perspective. Now time has come for the question. With this, we come to the last part of the session. I would request all our participants, if you have any question, you can write in the chat box. We have also received many questions during the registration. I'm just going to present these questions to all the speakers one by one. But before I start receiving, getting questions from our participant, I'll just take a minute and I will share my screen for a minute. I would, share the kind of work we have been doing at School Lalaji Solutions for a minute, and then I'll come back to the question part. Some of you are already aware with School Lalaji Solutions, we are India's largest one-stop solution platform for educational institutions. We are present in 42 cities, working with somewhere around 4,500 institutions. We help educational institutions in 3 ways. We help them in buying right thing from right people at right price. We also help institutions in selling their old stuff, like their old buses, generators, furnitures. We also help institutions in raising money. That may be in terms of loans or fee financing. Why any educational institution would need a platform like School Lalaji? You already have your old suppliers, your team is expert. You believe you're getting good discounts. So why you need a platform like School Lalaji? There are 2 important reasons. One is the kind of discount because we give them bulk orders. We give them orders. We represent 5,000 schools around, so we have more negotiating power with them. And second, which is more important reason, is in our educational ecosystem, we have 10,000 plus educational suppliers. Every month, 100 new companies are coming into education. So it's very, very difficult for for school leaders or higher education leaders to interact with all those companies, to understand their products in detail, to differentiate between different products available. When we come into picture, we understand your school, your taste, your actual requirement, your budgetary limitation. We also have category experts who interact with different companies on daily basis. We also talk to their previous clients to certify their credibility. We also negotiate with them, and after doing all these things, we recommend you the right set of options for the further steps. There are different areas where we are helping educational institutions: smart classroom procurement, uniform, insurance, diesel. We supply diesel in some part of North India to the doorstep of institutions at 0 rupee transportation cost. Solar plant, language lab, security solutions, furniture, recruitment, music classrooms, healthcare, robotics, STEM STEAM labs, career counseling, stationery, digital marketing, IT solutions, educational tour, generators, learning tools, and finance. And we take the guarantee that will save you at least 5 to 7% of your annual expenditure. So that's kind of a 5% additional revenue generation for your institution. Just one example, we save 2 crore 40 lakh rupees for different institutions in just one category, that's bus insurance. So that we are perhaps India's largest school bus insurance partner. Some major highlights: we did 8 megawatt plus solar installation, 3,000 plus bus insurance, 400 plus smart classrooms, 2,000 plus cameras, 350 plus training programs, 56 old buses, uniform in 42 schools. By the end of 2021, we aim to reach out to 10,000 institutions. We need your support, your guidance, your blessings. So I'll end my talk here. And I would request Sandeep sir, if I may present the first question to you. So, sir, I have already posted the question in the chat box. Ms. Taba Parveen, a preschool teacher with Dr. Virendra Saroop Public School, Kanpur, has asked this question. What is Parak and what would be its impact?
Sir, pardon?
Sir, I have posted the question in the chat box.
Yeah.
It's about the Parak, that new assessment platform, Parak, and what would be its impact?
Basically. The impact related to that is related to higher education also, related to teachers' basic things. You will have to go through these platforms. Okay. So first, it's my request to even teachers also to go through the things that has been the part of higher education part. Point number 9, that is quality university and colleges. It has been already given in that statement. So she can read that statement for the complete things there.
Right. Okay, thank you. Sandeep sir, I'll come back to you. Now I would request Sangeeta ma'am, question in the chat box. And I will also request if you would like to add something to that part, Parak part. Or the second question, Ms. Shoiba Rizwan, teacher, Fatima Public School, Fatehpur. The question says, by which year the minimum degree qualification for teaching is going to be 4-year integrated BA degree?
Sir, if you permit, I would
So,
like to go for the answer of this question.
Sorry?
If it is available.
Dharmendra sir, question was for Sangeeta ma'am.
Is it
I'll come
available?
back to you.
Okay.
Yes,
Sure,
No,
sir.
it's okay, sir, if you can answer. It will be better if you know.
Yeah. Dharmendra sir, you want to
Dharmendra
respond
sir,
this
you can
question?
answer this question.
सर आप
No,
लोग
ma'am,
आप
please you
लोग ये
proceed. I
liberty
thought the
बच्चों को
voice
नहीं देते,
was
हम लोग देते हैं. आप क्वेश्चन इंटरचेंज कर सकते हैं.
हाँ.
If ma'am doesn't want to go for, I'll go for it. Actually, voice I was not able to get.
Okay. Please answer.
Actually, regarding the 4-year integrated BA degree, let me tell you, hard and fast line has not been set up till now. Right now, because the NCTE, it has only taken the initiative that this course, 4-year degree course, has been started in central universities and state universities. Now, until and unless these batches don't come up with their final year results, it won't be possible to make anything such kind of it is there. Still, as Sandeep sir suggested in the beginning only, that the roadmap suggests us that it will be 8 to 10 years time required for complete implementation of this. So we may expect that this will become mandatory. 4-year integrated BA degree will become mandatory by approximately 8 years. And by 2025-26, as it was suggested in one of the meetings by our education minister, that Mr. Nishank, that it will be optional, and more of the percentage will be shifting towards this degree by 2025. So the bottom line is that you can wait for still 6 to 8 years for the mandatory condition of this. Till we have the complete batches out by NCTE with these particular degrees. This is what information I have in this regard.
Right. Thank you. Dharmendra sir, I would come back to you. And now I would request Sangeeta ma'am. Ma'am, the question in the chat box. Miss Arwa Nasir, teacher with the KES Rainbow Kids SVP Mumbai. The question says, can ECC trained teacher teach grade 1 and grade 2?
So I would say, just as Dharmendra sir replied just now to that question, it is the same. Like these rules have not been specified very clearly what will be the qualification of a teacher teaching first and two. Right now, ECCA teaches the pre-primary, and first onwards in Maharashtra, it is the DED trained teachers. So right now it is the same thing. We will wait for the clear-cut guidelines for that.
Okay. Right, ma'am. Sangeeta ma'am, thank you. I'll come back to you. Sandeep sir, there is another question. It has come from Miss Ganga Sharma. Ganga ji is a teacher with Shri TV Bhatia College, Mumbai. Are we going towards a lot of people have asked this question in the previous session as well, sir. Are we inching towards to become a one nation, one education system? Because BJP says it's a one nation, one constitution, one nation, one thing, one nation, one party, one nation, one prime minister. So are we going towards that direction?
No, again, as in my speech also, I have told you that this concept has been generated only due to the non-awareness of NEP. Okay, that is not it's related to, you can say that it's not related to one nation, one policy. It's related to a student, a specific policy. It is the policy meant for each and every student, not for one nation. Because once a student is being satisfied, then obviously the nation will develop. As Sangeeta Madam has also told that we are the developing nations, we are the most young peoples in all over the country. Okay. So again, to the question person, I just want to say that it's not a specific policy. It's related to each and every one. Again, you will have to understand it. It's not related that it will be forcible to everyone. It is having so many things. You can opt so many things. The best thing you can opt, whatever you want, you can opt it.
Sir, I'll add a supplementary part to this question. In fact, during our previous session, many people have asked this question: that are we going to see a uniform or single board for all kind of schools in India?
No, basically, again, sir, what I told you, that our single goal is to uplift our students or to uplift our education system. the knowledge system, the skill system. Basically, the big backbone is that only. Okay. But again, as we have dealt that there has been so many changes from region to region, because India is a full bucket of flowers. There, the regime or the florence of class or the studies has been different from even from Maharashtra to Madhya Pradesh or somewhere else also. Okay. So again, the backbone is that the overall development of nation or the overall development of student. That is the main essence of this policy. Essence of this policy is the student can develop his interest or he can pursue his career whatsoever he or her want to pursue. They are having multiple exit options. There are multiple entry options. They can change their mind at any stage of education. As for the 4-year degree programs, if you want to go for first 1 year, then you will got the diploma. Second year, for 1 year, you will got the certificate. Second year, you will got the diploma. Third year, you will got the bachelor's degree. So there will be the maximum entry or exit points there. It's entirely depend upon students.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sandeep sir. I would come back to you for your concluding remark. And now I would request Dharmendra sir. So there is a question from Ms. Sujata Chawla ji. Sujata ji is a teacher with Shri T.B. Bhatia Junior College of Science, Mumbai. Is there any provision for vocational education at the early stage of education? Sir, you are on mute.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so definitely Sujata ma'am has asked a very, you can say, concerning and valid question regarding the early stage of education. Now, is there any provision for vocational education? I would divide the question into two parts. Is there any provision for vocational education? Definitely there is a provision for practical and vocational education. But the second part is little bit worrying, that is at the early stage of education, I should say it will be practical part, then it is definitely there. But if you talk about the vocational part at early, it is not there. Actually, what is the concept of vocational education? The concept of vocational education is that by the time the learner approaches to the age around 18 or more than 18, that is in the working capacity to follow it as a vocation, at that time the vocational curriculum is taken care. So when we talk about early stage of education, I presume, if I am not wrong, she is asking about the school education at primary and junior level. And if that is the case, then there only skill subjects are there. Skill subjects are those subjects which lay the foundation for the vocational subjects. For example, ma'am mentioned about some of the subjects like coding is there, suppose. Now, coding is a skill subject. It is not a vocational subject. Coding is a skill subject which lays the foundation for vocational subjects to be taken care of at higher school level or in the, that is college level. So, ma'am, definitely there is provision of the vocational course, but not at the early stage level. It will start after, when it is in the fourth stage. That is the 4th year. When we are talking about 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, there when we are going, in the 4th part, we will have the inclusion of vocational course.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Dharmendra sir. And Sangeeta ma'am, there is another question. It has come from Dr. Pankaj Mishra. Pankaj ji is a Deputy Dean with the Madhyanchal Professional University, Bhopal. Question says, explain how to implement this policy without having required number of qualified teachers. Is there any scope of economical wellness of teachers in private sector?
Yes, there is a whole lot of, a section about teachers, and especially for the school teachers. They have made provisions to train teachers, and this 4-year B.Ed program is also part of that program. And if you're talking only about the economic part, so yes, there is. I have seen. I have read in section 5, which talks about teachers recruitment and deployment, and teachers they have focused on special outstanding students should enter into teaching profession. That is one thing which has been focused upon, especially from the rural areas, because many of the these B.Ed programs, 4-year integrated B.Ed programs in rural areas. Special merit-based scholarships will be established, and they talk about that such scholarships will provide local job opportunities to the local students, especially females they are focusing on. And I'm sure that they are working on, because they understand that there is a shortage of good quality teachers. So incentives are to be provided for teachers to take up teaching jobs in rural areas especially, and this also goes for the urban areas. They are going to give incentive for teaching in rural schools by giving them a local housing or near the school premises, or giving them housing allowances. And they are going to stop this transfer policy of teachers, which is very harmful for both for the students as well as for the teachers. And this transfers in the government schools, especially in the state governments, it becomes very demoralizing for the teacher to get transferred every 3, 4, 5 years. And then they are going to strengthen this teaching, the TETs, that is teacher eligibility test, and similarly the Parakh and other things in the higher education, and to ensure an adequate number of teachers across the subjects, especially in arts, physical education, vocational education, languages. They are the teachers, they will be teachers for schools, or for there will be sharing of teachers between the complex of schools. So these are some few things, and I have seen that they seem to be serious about recruitment of teachers and quality of teachers. So obviously, if the teachers are not paid well, you won't get quality teachers. So I'm sure this will take, it will see the light of the day, I feel.
Absolutely, absolutely. Many believe, I'm sure you all would agree with it, that many believe that the biggest challenge in Indian education is that most of the teachers who come into this profession, they don't come into this profession because of their first choice option.
Yeah.
They come out of some other reasons. So that this NEP has the potential to change that kind of environment.
Yeah.
So big thanks once again to all our key speakers, Sandeep sir, Sangeeta ma'am, Dharmendra sir. I also thank all other participants for being with us. But before we end the session, I would like to request our key speakers if we can have your concluding remarks. And we have also established one very interesting practice, that while sharing your concluding remark, if you can also suggest one idea that you would like to implement if you get a chance to become Minister of Education of our country. So what would be your priority? Let's say you become Minister of Education for one day. So आप क्या करेंगे उस एक दिन में कि ये तो करना ही है. So I would request Dharmendra sir, if I may begin with you, your concluding remark, and what would be your idea as a Minister of Education?
Thank you, sir. If I talk about the concluding remarks, then in that case, I will say that to implement any idea, it is very much required that first the resources must be available and planned. So if you, as you mentioned, that you have to share what you would do if you were the education minister for a day, I would stick to only one idea, and that is, the idea is that planning is already on the paper. Now I have to bring the resources to the implementation. As ma'am answered to one of the questions regarding the availability of the teachers and trained teachers regarding that, and as I'm able to see the question on my screen also, I'd add one point there, and that is very valid, and that is establishment of such educational institutions which are totally dedicated to teaching profession. It's a very good initiative. For example, I'll share the example of Teachers University at Gandhinagar, which has been established. That is the only teachers university which is at present in the whole of the country. So if I am to that level, I would first initiate establishment of such institutions. And to begin, as we have IPS, IAS as Indian Administrative Services, we should start with Indian Teaching Services. Teaching profession, it would become a flair for the students. When a student is having top grades, what does he go for? He never goes for a teacher. Why is that? because the flair is for IAS, the flair is for PCS. Why not there be a flair for ITS, Indian Teaching Services? So that this goes in the roots that a teacher earns the respect in the society at the real stage. This is what I would do. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dharmendra sir. That was very interesting. So we hope that you become Minister of Education one day very soon. Thank you for your participation. Now I would request Sangeeta ma'am, if we can have your concluding remark and what would be your priority if you become the second women Minister of Education of our country.
So before that, there was a question by Shalini Mundra that will this policy allow learning at learner's pace? I would say that even the RTE has done that. So I'm sure this also will do that. RTE also allows learning at learner's pace. So now coming to my concluding remarks, I am really, as I told you earlier also, that I'm very optimistic and hopeful because this policy talks about rootedness and pride in India, in its rich, diverse, ancient and modern culture and knowledge systems and traditions, which is really which was very much needed at this point of time when I see the young generation not feeling proud about the country. And second thing, that education is a public service, which is a very good thing that this NEP focuses on, and substantial investment in this strong and vibrant public education system. So for me, it looks like very, very optimistic policy. A hope for the future for our young generation. And I, as far as possible, from my side, I'm going to do anything that I can do so that it is implemented properly at my level. Now, talking about being if I was the education minister, this has been my dream for, when the moment I came into the education field, that I always felt just rightly, as Dharmendra sir said, that why there is no, race to become teacher in this country. I want to see see India where people, just like they spend 2 to 3 years to become an IAS officer, they struggle to become a teacher in India. That is my dream, and maybe I'll do something so that maybe I'll open doors. Maybe I'll make the remunerations to teachers so high that the best in education, the IIT engineer or the best institutions, the first hope of the student, the topper, wants to become a teacher. Thank you.
Absolutely. Many, in fact, educators have shared similar views. Many believe like the way army recruits its people, we must recruit our teachers that way. Many believe like we should have, institutions.
I want to interrupt you because this has been my dream. So what I do is, when my children go to IITs and VJTI and go some of the premier institutions in or IAS or IPS officers, whenever I get a chance, I catch hold of them and bring them to my school and ask them to take lectures when they are free in their vacations. And I tell the children, see, this is an IPS officer. He's going to teach you mathematics or history or, whatever. So that's how I try to do now also. Thank you.
Thank you, Sangeeta ma'am, for your participation and valuable thoughts. Big thanks. And now I would request Sandeep sir, if you can have your concluding remarks and what would be your priority for the chance to become Minister of Education.
Okay, so my concluding remarks will be like that. So I request all the participants and the academicians over here to spread the essence of this policy to each and everyone. To just conduct a small discussion on this policy in their own house, in their surroundings, in their societies, in their schools, colleges, universities. So that number of persons should aware that what this policy is. Because what I feel at this point of stages is still there has been so many people who are not aware the ifs and buts and the pros and cons of this policy. Obviously, there will be ifs and buts also, but the thing is, again, if we'll discuss, then we can come on a specific point only. And related to your second question, if I'll become the education minister, then my most important concept which I should like to introduce in this India is related to development of students at the foundation level and the preparatory stage level. Because still, what I think or what I feel is, again, we are giving the basics, the basic thing. Like when the student goes in the school, then he is, at present, he has been going to have a knowledge of engineering subjects, medical subjects only after class 8th or 10th. So I just want to introduce, at least introduce them that what is a civil engineering is in the 5th class or in the 6th class.
Oh, sir, we have lost your voice.
I think the network has been lost.
Right.
They are still not aware that what is happening up there in the country or in the world. So I just want this thing to be happened. Rest, we all are education ministers. All the academicians are itself, they are the education ministers. Because we are giving our best to our students. As Sangeeta madam has told us, that we becomes very glad when we find that some of our student has become IAS or IPS and they have achieved their set targets. So again, I request all of you to just spread this education policy to each and every student, even from school level also. Thanks.
Absolutely. I agree with you, sir. Like all the principals, all the leaders of education industry, because they have their own territory where they can experiment, they can explore things. So certainly they have those powers. So big thanks once again, all of you, Sandeep sir, Sangeeta ma'am, Dharmendra sir, and big thanks to all the participants for being with us for this very special 160th session. We'll end the session here. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.